Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our very last interview of Black History Month. So today is a very special interview because we are interviewing our very own Shalyse. Hi, Shalyse.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Of course. So, of course, I know who you are, and I'm sure some people who are watching know who you are as well. But for anybody who's watching who doesn't, who are you and what do you do?
So my name is Shalyse Kendrick. I'm with the Shannon Jones team as a buyer's agent at Keller Coastal Properties. I work in the Long Beach and surrounding areas, and I help people, navigate their home buying process and finding their dream homes.
Perfect. Yes. And so the reason why we have Shalyse on here today is because she has gotten super interested in her family tree and researching her ancestry. And I know there's been like a couple of TV shows and stuff about that recently. So I'm sure a lot of people have started doing this or are interested in doing this. So first, I just want to start off with, how did you get started with this?
Well, it started as a kid.
Really?
Years ago, I had a project of a family tree that I had to kind of build from scratch. It was on one of those huge, poster papers that everybody has a project.
Yep.
So I was on one of those, and I've got two. I've got a black side and a white side, and my side, I have so many pictures, so much information, and it was just incredible and super interesting to me. And on my black side, I really didn't have anything or anybody. I didn't have a lot of information. And so as I got older, I started stumbling across, all these free records that are publicly available, and all these, different apps and ancestry.com and things like that. I found a free one called familysearch.com, and I kind of started connecting the dots on there. And once I got started, I kind of just fell in the rabbit hole of I would stay up all night and find as much information as I could about different parts of my family. And it just goes back so far. Even I was impressed, even on the black side, I did get a lot more information. I've even connected with old relatives relatives I didn't even know.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And so have you filled in all the branches, going up quite a ways?
I filled out, it's collaborative. So sometimes you might think you're on the right track, but somebody will come in and correct the work that you've done. So sometimes that happens. But a lot of the information on my mom's side of the family, or my maternal grandma's side of the family, is filled out. My dad's side of the family doesn't go too high. It goes I want to say early 1700s, maybe. That's
pretty high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my other side goes back to, I could trace it back to 1000s and 600, and it goes back so further,
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, so I've been trying, but could only get so far.
Yeah. That's so cool though. And so you mentioned ancestry.com and some apps, and what other programs do you use to research, or, do you go to city records? What else do you do to find this information?
So familysearch.org has a database searcher, and they search marriage records. So you can kind of get hints from different marriage records. They've got immigration records, birth certificates, death certificate records, or I guess you wouldn't see the actual certificate, but you can see birth records, death records, marriage records, divorce records. So you can see all of that. They've even got records from some of my family's immigrated from Norway, and I've even found what boat they came on and how long ago. And
oh my gosh,
I've even gotten so deep into it where I researched the house from census records is one of them too. So I'll research the house that my family or my ancestors lived and see kind of, and then I'll Google map it to see what's,
No.
it's
Wait, in Norway? So you could see the house in Norway?
not in Norway, but
Okay, okay.
yeah, here I'm sure if I did look in Norway, I could probably see.
Yeah.
I've seen the towns, like I know what towns they came from.
Oh my gosh.
You know, a lot of my family settled in Washington, so I was able to see where their house originally was, or family in like Pensacola. I can see that too. So
That's so cool. And Shannon is watching. Hi, Shannon. She says hi. So, okay, obviously that's all super cool. But what is the most interesting thing you think that you've learned so far about your family?
So the most interesting, a lot of it I knew already from my other side.
Yeah.
But what I found interesting was that on my dad's side, you know, I didn't know really where we came from or, you know, what anything about us really. So I found through census records that a lot of my ancestors on that side are veterans.
Oh.
And they, like, the grandfather, the great great grandfather, his son would have been a veteran, and his son. So it kind of was like a long line of veterans.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I was so surprised because I could see the records, like what their occupations were and what, you know. So farthest down the line, I've seen that one of my grandmothers, great great grandmothers, was like a house something. House something. She was working in a house.
Yeah.
Domestic servant or something. And I was so sad. I was like, oh, you know, here goes the old remnants of, you know, of Jim Crow era. And,
Yeah.
you know, so I was kind of bummed out about that. But then when I looked at what her husband did, he was a doctor.
Wow.
And so I was like, no, she wasn't a house worker. She worked in her own house because her husband was a doctor.
Right.
And I found out, I was like, well, that's interesting. You know, and then his son was a doctor and his son was a doctor. So I was like,
cool.
Family full of doctors? That's so cool.
Yeah. Now you can do like, well, I have doctors in the family. So,
so I was like so excited to learn that.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And then another thing I learned was recently I found out, because you could also see the race of people also. So one of the doctors I found, his race, it was an M for mulatto.
Interesting.
So I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And so I found his dad, or who I think is his dad, and he was white. And so I was like, okay, he's from you know, we're from white people, and that's interesting because I didn't know that. And then
because this is on your dad's side of the family.
My dad's
yeah,
who I thought was fully black. Well, I was like, okay, interesting. And then I ended up connecting with a relative on that side who said, oh yeah, he was one of the last slave owners.
Oh my gosh.
And he knew that information. And I said, wow.
Oh my gosh. Wow. And so when you connect with these other people, do you learn a lot of new things? Like, are they as happy that you reached out to them as you are like talking to them?
Yeah, you know, I think we share an interest. You know, they're obviously on there because they're super interested in our history also. And, you know, and it's just awesome learning and meeting with these people. I've met with people on multiple sides of the family, or not met with them, but, you know, connected with them online, and they've all been super excited and said, gosh, you know, that would make us, I don't even know how they do the cousins. But
right.
15th cousin, twice removed, and just random, but
that's so cool. My mom, so she's really into all this stuff too. And so she's researched our family tree, and we're from the South, but obviously we're not there. So she went on a trip one time and she went all over the South, like looking for more information on us. And she went to this small town and was like knocking on doors, just like, do you know, any information about this family? And it was the Perrin family. And she knocked on this one door and the lady opened, pre-COVID, obviously. And my mom said, oh, do you know the parents? And she said, you're not going to believe this, but in my backyard is a graveyard and everybody buried there is a Perrin. And I was just like, that story to me is so cool to like, oh my God, this is like so much of my history right here. And like, you don't even know it. Like you have to go out and find it.
Right. And a lot of information is available, you know, and a lot of it isn't. And it's just,
Right.
you know, find what you can find and keep looking for what you can't. But
I imagine that's the frustrating part when you're like so close and like even before I heard you say like I think this is who it is, but like you know sometimes you don't know.
a lot of it's guesswork, and it's like you've got to, you know, like this person was in the same city around the same time as this, and all I know is, you know, the first name and maybe the last name of that person, and I think the person. So, you know, I'm gonna make it that until somebody corrects me.
Right. And so if anybody's watching and they are inspired by this, what's your suggestion for them? Like how do they get started researching their own family trees?
I would start with the free resources and seeing how far you get there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you know, and then once you see if you get pretty far and you hit a roadblock or something, then maybe try something a little more intense, like, you know, a paid version that has more resources available and searches more databases and records. But yeah, a lot of it's free. Familysearch.org, I swear by it. I love it. I love my little family tree app. It's so cool.
That's awesome. And so just to close up, I think, so I've been closing out all the interviews with this. What does Black History Month mean to you?
So to me, it means, you know, remembering and honoring the people that have paved the way for us to do some of the simple things that we take advantage of, like voting and, you know, just being able to go places, and also remembering that there's still a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, what's cool is that of the 4 interviews we've done, 3 of them have been women. So I love that, like getting those Black women business owners out there. So that's super special. Yeah. And so anything else you want to share, anything like that?
No, I mean, if anyone needs a resource, I love sharing. I'm telling you, I go down these rabbit holes, so I could get talking about it forever. So if you need any resources, feel free to reach out to me.
Awesome. All right. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for sharing today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right. Bye, everyone.